Welcome back, CMA candidates. So glad you're joining me for this explainer. Today, we're taking a really close look at a critical piece of the corporate governance puzzle for your Part 1 exam, external audit requirements. Now, I know auditing can sometimes feel, well, a little dry, right? But trust me on this. Understanding these rules is literally like learning the survival guide to a high-stakes corporate game. As your instructor, my goal here is to break all this down into clear, bite-sized pieces so you can walk into that exam room with total confidence. All right, let's just dive right in.
Here's our syllabus for today. We'll start with the gatekeeper role, then look at threats to auditor independence. After that, we'll cover SOX and power dynamics, tackle a real CMA exam practice question together, and finish up with key takeaways for success.
So, Section 1, the gatekeeper role.
Before we get bogged down in the technical rules, we really need to understand the fundamental purpose of an external audit. If you're working in corporate finance right now, you probably feel like an audit is basically a stressful dental exam. It's uncomfortable, it's super detailed, and you just want it over with. But we got to put our CMA exam hats on here. The ICMA looks at this from a much higher, more strategic level. They do not see auditors as an annoyance. They see them as the ultimate market gatekeeper. External auditors provide the public, the lenders, and the shareholders with independent assurance that a company's financial statements are actually free of material misstatements. Basically, they are the protectors of the financial markets. Keep that strategic view top of mind.
Moving on to Section 2, threats to auditor independence.
Listen, if there is one single concept the CMA exam tests over and over, it's auditor independence. For the public to actually trust an audit opinion, the external auditor must be completely 100% objective. They cannot, under any circumstances, have financial or personal stakes in the client company they're auditing. If they do, a conflict of interest pops up immediately, and the integrity of the whole audit is just compromised. The entire system basically falls apart without this baseline of independence.
To protect that golden rule, regulatory bodies like the AICPA have laid out several distinct threats that you absolutely need to know for the exam. Let's look at two of the biggest traps. First up is the familiarity threat. This happens when an auditor gets a little too cozy with a client after years of working together. You start trusting management a bit too much, and suddenly you're asking fewer hard questions. The second one, and arguably the most dangerous, is the self-review threat. This is exactly what it sounds like. It's auditing financial records or controls that your very own firm helped prepare. I mean, you can easily see how an auditor might turn a blind eye to a mistake if their own colleagues made it, right?
Because these threats are just so severe, we have strict regulations dictating exactly what an external auditor is allowed to do. And this perfectly illustrates the massive impact of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. SOX strictly prohibits an external audit firm from providing most non-audit services to their audit clients. So, if a firm is doing your annual financial audit, they cannot design or implement your financial info systems. They can't do your bookkeeping or outsource your internal audit, and they definitely cannot perform appraisal, valuation, or actuarial services. Why? Because doing any of that and then auditing the financials creates a massive self-review threat. Here's a huge tip for the exam. If you see a CPA firm helping a company set up internal controls and then turning around and auditing those same controls, flag it immediately. That is a textbook violation.
Which brings us to Section 3, SOX and power dynamics.
We've talked about what auditors can't do, but who actually holds the power when they show up at the office? To understand today's rules, you kind of have to understand the history. Before massive scandals like Enron and WorldCom, external auditors were typically hired and fired directly by corporate management. I mean, just think about the conflict of interest there. If management didn't like how tough an auditor was being, they just threatened to fire them and hire a friendlier firm. To fix that incredibly flawed system, SOX came in and completely flipped the script. Today, external auditors report directly to the Independent Audit Committee of the Board of Directors. That committee is the one who hires, compensates, and oversees the auditors, not management. It completely neutralizes management's leverage.
And SOX didn't just stop at the audit committee. Congress also set up a brand new watchdog, the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, or the PCOAB. This is a nonprofit corporation designed specifically to oversee the audits of public companies. Put simply, their job is literally to audit the auditors. They make sure that public accounting firms are keeping their standards sky high and playing by the rules. Just think of them as an extra layer of defense for the public market.
All right, Section 4, CMA exam practice question.
The real test of your knowledge is knowing how to apply all these rules when you're actually sitting in that testing center. Before we even look at our multiple choice options, I want you to burn this core question into your brain. When you're answering exam questions about external audits, always ask yourself, who is the external auditor's true client? It's not the CEO, it's not the CFO. The true client is the shareholder and the public market. Every single strict rule we've discussed today exists solely to protect those external stakeholders. Keep that in mind.
Okay, keeping that true client in mind, let's walk through a classic CMA-style question together. Which SOX practice is required to maintain independence? Let's look at our options. Is it A, a 5-year partner rotation, B, the firm performs the internal audit, C, the CFO hires the auditor, or D, providing unapproved tax services? Think back to the traps we just talked about, and let's break these down systematically.
Let's eliminate the wrong answers first. Option B? Definitely incorrect. Having the external firm perform the internal audit is a direct self-review threat. It's strictly prohibited by SOX. Option C is a classic trap. The CFO is management. And remember our power dynamics discussion? The independent audit committee has to be the one to hire and oversee the auditors. And option D is out too. While tax services are sometimes allowed to be performed by the audit firm, they always require explicit pre-approval from the audit committee. You can't just provide them unapproved.
Which leaves us with our magic number 5. Option A is the correct answer. SOX mandates that the lead audit partner and the concurring partner must rotate off the engagement client every 5 years. And why? Exactly, to prevent that familiarity threat we talked about earlier. Knowing these specific time frames and relationship boundaries will absolutely win you easy points on exam day.
Finally, Section 5. Key takeaways for success. Fantastic work walking through that logic with me. Let's pull everything together into your ultimate summary guide. Number 1, auditor independence is the golden rule. Absolutely no financial conflicts and absolutely no self-review allowed. Number 2, the SOX power dynamics rule. Auditors report directly to the independent audit committee, bypassing management entirely. And number 3, the partner rotation rule. This is mandated every 5 years to keep that audit relationship fresh and objective. I'm incredibly proud of the hard work you're putting into this. Mastering these specific concepts brings you one giant step closer to earning those 3 letters, CMA.
But before we go, I want to leave you with a quick thought to chew on as you keep studying. If SOX rules and the PCOAB are so incredibly strict today, how do you think the next big corporate scandal might attempt to bypass the audit committee entirely? It's a fascinating thought experiment, and it really tests your understanding of where the vulnerabilities in corporate governance might still be hiding. Keep thinking critically, keep studying smart, and I will see you in our next explainer.